Welcome, Commander.
Alright, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another World War II Shattered Europe Ultra cast. So, the map's now Ultra from Omega. There's been several updates. This game is pretty good, but it is a Third Reich game, so meaning Germany is just one player. So I guess they're at an APM disadvantage. We have myself as the United Kingdom. We have ACTStudent. Some of you may know him by Sugar Eater as the Soviet Union. We have Redneck as America, fitting. Um, and we have Tyrant as the Third Reich, and we have Johnny as Italy. So this game, guys, it's a pretty good game by nowadays standards. So you're in for quite a treat this cast. Looks like Tyrant is just starting off by taking Paris, standard stuff. ACT is just clearing up Riga and the surrounding cities. Finland is going for this top city. There we go. So France has fallen. Third Reich now has all of France. So one of the changes in the
We
map
shall fight
actually
in
is
France. We shall fight on the seas
I'm
and
gonna let
oceans.
Winston finish his little
We
spiel
shall
there.
fight with growing confidence and growing strength in the air. We shall defend our island, whatever the cost may be. We shall fight on the beaches. We shall fight on the landing grounds. We shall fight in the fields and in the streets. We shall fight in the hills. We shall never surrender.
Pleasant old chap, that guy. Anyways, one of the updates on the map is they've put in Switzerland now, and it's in the mountains. They have bunkers, flak cannon. It's a pain to take, honestly. I really don't like it, but I'm sure there's a reason they put it in. So yeah, I mean UK just standard stuff, taking all the North Sea, the oils, getting that radar tower up. If you guys are new to Britain, this is really important. Actually, I could have put a few in Egypt, Turkey, and even here to help my allies, but you know, didn't come across me at the time. Now this spy center is really important actually, because you can infiltrate cities to see what your opponents are building, and this will save your life a lot, especially as UK, because you can spy, Munich, Berlin. You can see what they're up to. Yeah, it's overall spy center, 150 minerals, very good investment. So it looks like Italy, this is a strategy that I have actually not seen before. He is spamming 105s, 105 millimeter artillery, and it looks like he's going to go for a bit of an early push. Now I try an APC strat, but I fail miserably here, so we'll see. Now look, another thing you can do as Britain is you can send these 5 subs from the North Sea down to help your Mediterranean fleet. And if the US is good, he'll move his fleet, as Redneck is doing, with your subs if you do this. And together, you guys have a massive numbers advantage versus the Italian Navy. So you should see, this is all the Italian Navy has. So with this advantage, you should be able to secure the Mediterranean fairly easily. And with that, you can harass, Sicily, Corsica. You can attempt landings in southern Italy. And in fact, if Italy's not a good player, you can actually like pretty much take Italy out of the game with a strat like this. So, ACT stating the obvious. Third Reich obviously is going to be hard to deal with as Russia or UK, or for that matter, anyone. So it looks like most of the action in the early game is happening in Africa as usual. So yeah, my early little opening here got absolutely wrecked by Johnny. Probably a much better way to do this. But yeah, Spain joined Axis. He'll be taking Gibraltar shortly. So it looks like the Italians are beginning a slow push, and Redneck is scrambling for defense. Looks like the Italian fleet has fled to southern Italy. Because, see, this numbers advantage is just... You can't fight this as Italy. 5 subs plus UK's Mediterranean fleet plus the United States fleet. Which I don't know what happened to. It just disappeared. Oh, it came down here. Yeah, you can't, as Italy, with this, you just can't fight that. He's making subs to try to bolster his navy strength. But of course, that'll take away money from his main push here, which is arguably more important. So, the current meta for, you know, USA, Italy, and sometimes even Soviet seems to be assault guns. Now, I came back fairly recently, actually. I believe the last video I uploaded was about 10 months ago or something like that. So this came as quite a shock to me, because assault guns were pretty bad, but, I'm sure there's a reason everyone makes them now. So with that naval advantage, we're taking all these sea zones, and now Italy has to worry about landings. It does give quite an advantage. And if you have the ships, the spare ships, you can actually come down here, mess with Spain's, crossing and stuff. But anyway, it looks like we have a bit of an engagement here. Johnny putting down sandbags to buff up his infantry. And he doesn't actually push any further, which is probably a smart thing, as this choke can be quite a nightmare. So if we take a look at the GDPs here. Yeah, I messed up so hard. My GDP is scary low. But anyways, as you guys can see, Third Reich is just an absolute monster. Like, when you combine West Germany and East Germany, you basically, you can get to, 1k GDP by like 6 minutes, I'm sure. And honestly, like, personally, I believe as Third Reich, the smartest strat is to just get to 1.5k by like 9 minutes and then just do an early barb, honestly. Because you can get away with anything
Upgrade
when you have,
complete.
this much of an advantage over everyone. But the problem with Third Reich is, as the game goes on, the UK and Soviet, their GDPs start to scale, and suddenly you're against two pretty much equal opponents on either side of you. And just like real life history, it becomes a two-front situation. And that's when everything falls apart. So it looks like we have a bit of a stalemate down here in Egypt. Johnny can't seem to push any further. And Redneck holding out pretty well. So it looks like the Germans did a paradrop. And now with the help of Sweden, have taken Oslo and are proceeding to eliminate Norway. My fleet does arrive to see what they can do, which is not much. So yeah, these are the paratroop planes. Looks like it was a paradrop. They take Oslo. And with that, Norway's fate is pretty much sealed. So it looks like Finland, seeing his ally Norway getting eliminated, begins his push. So yeah, Norway leaves the game. GG. So yeah, Finland going ahead, beginning his push into Sweden. Looks like Sweden's going to assimilate Norway. Looks like the German Third Reich is preparing another paradrop. Like the Balkans actually have landed. with the Spanish in Algeria. Oh, looks like the United States has a little holdout here. Still a stalemate down here. Just more troops pouring up from either side. Redneck making a batch of artillery. See if he can pick off anything. Like the Finnish-Swedish standoff. Sweden does have snipers, which can get free kills on these machine gunners here, so ASDF backs off for now. Loses a unit or two. And everything in the map is quiet. The calm before the storm.
City transferred.
It's like Tyrant just giving his cities to Chrono. Probably expects Chrono to push Finland now that he has the combined economic might of Norway and Sweden combined. So it looks like Tyrant is actually going for a massive paradrop on UK. But remember when I was talking about that spy center earlier? I did manage to glimpse this with a infiltrate city. So as you guys can see, I'm more than prepared for it with many bunkers and even the bunker armor upgrade. So another thing you can do to actually counter paradrops is flak cannons, because if you have enough, they can tear these planes right out of the sky. And I think that's actually why he's coming from this angle, because he probably saw my flak cannons. But yeah, this drop comes in. He drops his men right there, where they're going to be pinned by these machine guns with the Royal Navy right behind them. So a better move from Tyrant right there might have been to just fall back after he saw this many bunkers and the Navy coming. Like if you click on one of these soldiers, you know, they have the debuff, the urban combat debuff, because they're near a city. And some of these guys also have the suppressed debuff from the machine guns. So, you know, urban combat plus suppressed debuff, your infantry crawl. Just like these poor German soldiers right here. They're barely moving. They're just getting cut down by, you know, a few MGs and some Navy ships, honestly. See, they're barely moving. That must have been like 100 men or so right there who got almost nothing done. They killed one MG bunker, I think. But yeah, guys, this is the importance of the spy center. Because if I did not see this coming, this drop, honestly, like, potentially could have taken all of England. So, you know, scouting, just like regular StarCraft, it's a really important aspect of this game. So the German drop failed, and he's moving on to his next phase,
City transferred.
which appears to be
City transferred.
Operation Barbarossa. You know, all is still quiet in the African front.
City transferred.
Now Tyrant is just building up his strength. Sweden tightened its grip on the rest of Scandinavia. You know, Spain, I don't know what he's doing. He seems to just be patrolling here. I don't know why. He should be over here helping Italy push. In fact, if he came, they probably could have broken this. So not quite sure what this is. Yeah, insane, you know, he's just having a little fun there. It looks like Turkey landed on his little outpost in West Istanbul and is now pushing Balkans, who has some of his army in Africa. So only now he is responding. You know, these small little infantry forces from countries like Balkans, Turkey, if left unopposed, they can really do a lot of damage. But you know, Germany's on top of it. gets his tanks right on top of it right away. You know, machine gunners, very good at taking cities and very good at killing other infantry, but against tanks, they are not what you want, as you guys can see. Atlas complaining a little bit that Germany's after him. So, you know, this should be Spain who's over here helping, but, you know, at least Balkan is there. So Germany beat back the Turkish army, and Balkans is just retaking the cities now. So one thing I will say is, I do think Germany waited a bit too long to hit the Soviets this game. He gave them a little bit too much time. Because if you look at the Soviet money, you know, he has close to 12K ready to go. And with that country power of his, mass production, he can just pump those tanks out or whatever he wants to make. So yeah, looks like the Germans are moving north, and the push begins. So the Germans begin their attack, and ACT activates mass production, and he spent that entire bank on a bunch of T-34s. So you'll see them begin to stream out, you know, already that's 2 pages of T-34s in like 40 seconds, with a third wave on the way. There's even more right there. Yep. It's like the Germans beginning a push. He has quite a few Panzer IVs himself, as he is the Third Reich. If we take a look at the GDPs here, Third Reich with 1725, Soviet Union with 847, and the United Kingdom with 735. So, you know, the Third Reich still has more money. This is definitely a fairly low econ game by competitive standards. You know, by 15 minutes, UK, West Germany, East Germany, Soviet, they should all be around 1300, 1400, or even 1200. Actually, maybe 1400 is a bit high. By 15 minutes, probably 1100, 1200 is what you should be at. But all players in this game are fighting with pretty low econ. And actually with Ultra, I do believe the meta is more low econ focused than Omega was. But anyways, with that huge bank saved up, you can see T-34 is just constantly streaming down. And he does have the numbers to contest the Third Reich. So the Tyrant trying to cross this river, but you know, ACT activates his crews, he gets right on top of it, he surrounds this group of Panzer IVs, and they are just torn to shreds, as you can see. Yeah, he just completely crushes that left flank. And this group is still trying to cross, they're in this choke. So I do think the Third Reich tried to force this too hard, and as a result, he's going to lose almost all of his first wave. Yeah, so he's forced to retreat back. So again, the Africa theater, still just artillery. Scandinavia, looks like Sweden actually has, for the most part, defeated the Finnish army. Now, I do make airports here, and my air production has begun. Looks like Italy actually made some bombers. Now this is pretty unusual, but USA and Italy have changed, both of them changed to an air strategy, it seems. Johnny building up a massive fleet. Still hasn't taken the sea zones though. Looks like Germany, you know, securing his flanks, taking Kiev, taking, you know, Riga. It looks like another big battle will be coming. You know, I will say, because Soviet spent all of his initial bank, he's now just spending money turn by turn, so he doesn't have as many tanks. But luckily, UK air is here now, and the Germans have no anti-air as of now. So every tank that goes down to these bombers is basically a free kill as of right now. Now there's not that many bombers to make a huge difference. But you know, these are all bruised up from bombing. So the Soviets, they can mop up this last army. And of course he has a group tailing this one too. So he cleans this army up. Yeah, I do say nice, nice. Yeah, he cleans this one up. He chases down this little pack of panzers too. Cleans them up. Overall, a very clean cleanup overall. All German, you know, units past this river have been eliminated. So, you know, Tyrant takes a step back, tries to regroup, starts Tiger production, because they are more sturdy. Holds position here, while we slowly push back. So it looks like here, you know, both sides are still just building up air. Looks like Finland somehow pushed the Swedish army back, who are now attempting a mech or tank transition. So it looks like Balkan does a conscript landing? Yeah, a conscript landing. And, you know, a page of machine gunners will clean that up, no problem. Still a little standoff going on here. You know, the Soviets begin to push. Tigers are scrambling in position. That grammar. But yeah, Tigers are, you know, they're very powerful tanks. They do 98 armor damage, they have 440 health, 33 armor. You know, comparing stats to T-34, you know, Tigers, these guys eat T-34s for breakfast. But again, he has no anti-air, so even, you know, no matter how strong this Tiger is, they're going to take free damage from these bombers. You know, a few of them actually even go down. And that is not good, because each of these Tigers are pretty expensive. Each of these Tigers are 250 cash. You know, he loses quite a few of them to the United Kingdom, the British Air Force right there. So because he has no air control right now, the Soviets are free to push forward. even though he does have inferior tanks. So honestly, this game, air control does dictate what you can and cannot do. Whoever has control of the skies, just like in real war, can pretty much do as they please. Now, if I was better with my air, I would build some airfields down here and give America the air advantage as well. And I could do the same for Finland too, but I believe I was too focused on the Eastern Front, or perhaps too lazy. But regardless, that did not happen this game. It looks like Spain is still just chilling down here. I don't know what this guy's been doing all game. Just having a fun time. Makes me feel a little bad for Italy. When you're playing Italy, you know, when you have a Spain that refuses to do anything, it can be kind of tough. So it looks like the Soviets crossed the border into Germany. We're now pushing in German territory. And you know, 19 Tigers attempt to stop this, but they're pretty battered up from the bombing earlier. You see, even like though the Tigers are battered up and they're heavily outnumbered, they still trade well against the T-34s. You know, they've only lost 3 Tigers and like 10 T-34s have gone down. But you know, the air comes back. The Tigers are just getting shredded by a combination of dive bombers and T-34s. But still, you know, they're still bringing down some T-34s, guys. Tigers are no joke. They really are powerful units, especially against other tanks. And finally, he does get some advanced flak tanks, which are very effective against the air. You know, he drops like 4 or 5 bombers right there. And the Tigers are doing very well against the T-34s. They're trading very efficiently. You know, this is a bit too many. They get right on top and they just overwhelm the Tigers with numbers. They cruise in, trying to get on top of these factories. These are now Tiger 2s that are coming out. They have even more HP, more armor, and they do even more damage. So, you know, these tanks are really starting to outclass these T-34s that the Soviets have. But, you know, pure numbers is just pushing. Now, you know, ACT, he's aware that tank-wise, he's a bit outclassed right now. So, he's not fighting these tanks. You know, he knows that they're going to trade efficiently. Instead, he opts to go for the factories, which is a pretty smart decision in the context of this situation. So, you know, my planes try to go for the flak tanks here, but a lot of them do get shredded. We do a lot of damage and knock out many flak tanks. But, you know, ACT manages to bring down most of the German factories, so production is halted for now. So right now what you guys see is what Germany has to work with. He has to rebuild his factories somewhere. Trying to get that last factory. But he does not manage to do it. Wow, 28 HP. So it's like the US tries a little push. He sent in his P-51 Mustangs, a very famous fighter from World War II, the P-51 Mustang. So he pushes in, but you know, I don't think this is gonna be enough, especially with pure anti-tank in these bunkers. So actually all those T-34s were lost, bringing down the factories. And these Tiger 2s now move up to fight this group of T-34s. Now, you know, these Tiger 2s, if we discount air from this, they can actually take on this group of T-34s, even though they're outnumbered and bruised up. Because Tiger 2s, they just, T-34s cannot harm them. Like, see, couple hits and 4 T-34s just are knocked out right there. So, you know, ACT, he's still making T-34s. The US Air Force, with their B-25 Mitchells, finally does break through the Italian position. Because the Italian Air Force had to come up, help the Germans. Looks like Tyrant is remaking his production down here. Unfortunately for him, all his anti-air is gone, and he's gonna lose these few Tiger 2s he had up here. This game, if any, just shows the power of air. That whole group of 16 Tigers was just brought down for free, basically, by these bombers. And this has happened, you know, 5-6 times already in the course of this game. And that really does start to add up. So ACT wants to try to damage Germany's oil econ, which is down here, but Tyrant didn't even bother to upgrade these, so maybe not that important. Looks like Sweden and Finland are still at it, dueling each other with infantry. But Finland does seem to have a clear advantage now. Looks like Tyrant switched back to Tiger 1 production, because he didn't have time to make advanced factories. So the Italian Air Force, you know, they're doing their best to try to slow these T-34s down. And you know, these Tigers, they trade well. They brought down, you know, 5 T-34s, and not a single Tiger's been lost yet. Of course, as I say that, one goes down. These T-34s, they get on top of the Tigers, but this is a pretty even fight, just because of how strong these German Tigers are. As you guys can see, the Tigers are going to win this fight. The Tigers were going to win this fight until the British Air Force showed up again. And another batch of T-34s, and now he's mixing in improved tank destroyers. So these will do much better against Tigers than T-34s, because they do 117 damage, whereas the T-34 only does 53. So these guys, although equivalent in price to the T-34, do much better against Tigers. The trade-off, of course, being they can't hit infantry. So it looks like America has successfully pushed Italy back to this position. And the Soviets continue to push into southern Europe. The Italian Air Force comes back for another sortie. I do apologize for the little bits of lag, guys. I am on a laptop, as I don't have my own PC set up quite yet. And this laptop is it's not that good for gaming. The Soviets take out this batch of production. Tyrant sets up again here. But just as the factories finish, we do get on top of them. And I'll tell you personally, as someone who's experienced this, this can be one of the most demoralizing things in the game. You make some production and the enemy gets right on top of it before you have a chance to make units. But, you know, he did build them a little too close to the front. when we're pushing here, you know, he should have been putting them here, which is where he puts them now. Or even here, near Munich. Munich? I don't know how to say that properly. If anyone does, please feel free to leave it in the comments below. So as you guys can see, the Soviets are pretty much in Belgrade now, you know. If you look at the mini-map here, we've really punched deep into Axis territory. Important thing when you go air is to keep building new airfields closer to the front. As you guys can see, that's what I'm doing. As my, you know, Allied land forces advance, we advance our airfields so that our, you know, air support doesn't have to go as far to get refueled. So it's like Johnny has this little carrier strike group. He's using that to beat the Americans back. Where is the American air? Oh, there they are. This is a very interesting way to play this matchup. I've actually never seen air used in Africa by both America and Italy. It's usually, you know, Britain or West Germany that comes down for a few minutes to tip the scales. It's never Italy or America, like, fully committing to air. Because, you know, air can't take cities, guys. So even if one of them wins, they can't really push that quickly. But anyways, you know, Tyrant he is able to upgrade his factories this time. He starts with a batch of advanced flag tanks, which is pretty smart. These perform very well against air. But there's a bit too many bombers right now. But you know, these guys, as you can see, they're really tearing up my air. Although they all do pay with their lives. Ultimately, guys, the ultimate answer to air is to get air of your own. Because air is just so mobile, so strong. Maybe a bit too strong, honestly. But air does have its disadvantages too. As I said before, they can't take cities. So Germany is, you know, pretty much on their last wheels at this point. He can't push the Soviets back. He can't eliminate all the air. His allies are leaving. Looks like Finland finally invaded Sweden. We missed that, focusing on the main action down here. Looks like Spain finally shows up to help fight the Americans. The Italian Air Force does come in. Looks like he has a fighter advantage. So he's going to tear these US bombers up. Redneck tries to save as many of them as he can, but you guys can see these bombers are dropping like flies. Yeah, they have to just keep running away until these Italian fighters run out of fuel. He must have lost like 10, 12 bombers right there until the flaks finally shoo away these Italian fighters. So, you know, the Russians, they just continue their advance. Germany does he is finally able to begin Tiger II production. He's going to have quite a formidable army here soon. But, you know, the Russians are everywhere now. T-34s are just streaming in everywhere, taking Bucharest, these oils. How do you guys pronounce this city? Bucharest? I have no idea. Please, if anyone knows, enlighten me. But as you can see, this Russian, if you look at the mini-map, this Russian salient, you know, up to here used to be German territory, but he's really pushing in now. And this just shows that no one can really stop him at this point. You know, Germany's gonna try. They're gonna try to stop him one last time. And if you guys ever have, you know, a full queue, or even close to a full queue like this on your factories, you can probably add on 2 or 3 more, and it will greatly help your situation. Especially in a situation like this where he needs to get these units out quick. And actually, he's gonna need a few more flags to deal with this much air. He does attempt to kite back. It's what you're supposed to do with flak tanks against air. But as you guys can see, you know, about 50 bombers are still able to get on these tanks. And that's gonna make more than enough difference. And the flak tanks all get annihilated anyways. And these tank destroyers, you know, they're doing 117 damage with each shot. They're doing more damage than the Tiger 2s. And they are much cheaper. So, against vehicles, tank destroyers are really, really powerful. But, you know, if Germany switched to rocket infantry, if he even had 20 rocket infantry, you know, this entire army of tank destroyers won't do a thing. That's the payoff here. Tank destroyers cannot target anything else but cities and vehicles. They can't hit infantry. They can't hit aircraft. That's why they're so cheap. They're very one-dimensional. So it looks like Germany does call GG, and with that, I will be bringing the cast to a close.